Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, we are doing better here in my home. This is Chloe, by the way. Oracle, Earth sensitive, uh, basically fayish, druidy type of girl here. I love nature. I am so sorry for the people down in Texas, and I think in another part of the world there's been some storms and flooding and like tsunami type things going on as well. I don't watch the news all the time, but I do get enough of just regular update themes on my phone that I see that there's events happening. It's interesting for me because as an earth sensitive, I usually have weird dreams. Well, dreams, sometimes weird, sometimes just whatever they are, of natural phenomena that's happening around the world. And when I started getting flooding dreams around the time in the early 2000s when that major tsunami hit that totally took so many by surprise over in, I guess, in the Asian continents. And at the same time, there was like a power outage that same weekend or night or whatever it happened during that same event, right around the same time. There was a light outage and some other events happening on the East Coast. And I had so many dreams during that time that was just crazy. And then I didn't even have as many like update type stuff on my phone. I didn't have the smartphone then. I had one of those flip type phones that were very basic. But I had a poll to go and look at like Yahoo News or whatever and see what was going on because I'd had these rapid dreams, really intense dreams of people being floating in water and being hit by things and animals running and being very confused but having this urge to run to totally different areas that weren't their regular territory. And then the dreams about people being in the dark and earth tremors and some other things happening as well. So I've had these kind of sensations and dreams and things for not just since then, but before then, and I had other things. I lived on the West Coast in California and Northern California and other places, and I've always had a sensitivity to when events were happening, usually within moments of it happening. It wasn't like I was getting precognitive dreams that this was coming, although occasionally I would have dreams that kind of built up to an event, but my strongest dreams were always the energies of when the event was happening or the first few things and even towards the end, things like that. It's more present tense. It isn't so futuristic. And some of that is sometimes body aches and things that were increased during that time more than usual, but mostly it was dreams, feelings, and when I say feelings, I mean like feeling people literally in the situation, them floating in water, being hit by things, animals running, feeling panicked or confused or just intense feelings. And when it comes to the earthquakes and things like that, it's more like being very sensitive to a slight shaking and then finding, I remember during, there was some like baseball game with the Dodgers when I was a kid, teenager or something. I think I was in middle school, preteen, I guess. And it was when the San Francisco bridges fell during that earthquake. I was awake during that time, but when right before and right when the TV went snowy over that sports event, I knew there was an earthquake. I was totally saying, that's an earthquake, that's an earthquake. My mom thought I was just going off. Turned out I was right. You know, I've heard some other earth sensitives talk about what they experienced during that time. And when it comes to flooding, it's very different. It's more the dreams and the feeling of being in moving water. And if you have these sensory stuff going on right now, know that you're just very connected to Earth's energy. It's not some fluky thing. It's just a natural response to our senses. For those of us who are a little bit more tied into Mother Earth and her shifting or cycle patterns of weather and whatnot, these are natural phenomenon, but we are sensitive to it, I believe, for a reason. It's just since we're not trained to know what to do with it or how to help with it, all we can do is try to be present in the moment. Because when you are feeling a being, be it Mother Earth or the beings who are being affected by her her balancing, rebalancing, or movement of cycles. In my case, I don't know about those of you, and if you see this video, I'd love to see comments on how you feel what's happening for yourselves when you experience this kind of thing. I feel that in some cases, when I felt other beings experiencing things in a very scary, sad, or extreme way, we are being kind of witnesses and support for those going through the extreme situation. There's a part of our consciousness that is connecting with another going through an extreme situation, and we are there to try to add comfort and or at least understanding of what they're going through. And somehow I feel it helps. I don't know how, I don't know exactly in what way, but I truly feel it helps, and I hope in some way they feel us when we're experiencing it with them, that they are not alone. It makes me feel that when people, I think they're sensitive to others who are going through quite violent acts against them. And I think if there's people like me who are sensitive to earth acts and the chaos that people experience during that, I really believe that there are sensitives who feel when people are going through violent acts and that they are present and supportive during that thing. And I guess I bring this up because I want you to know, or I really feel that we're supported in everything we are affected by, that somehow we are not alone in those instances of extreme circumstance or experience, and that there's usually somebody, something, some consciousness that is connecting us to others who are feeling it with us and are there to support us through the extreme situation. And this is based off my feelings of what I've experienced during those tsunamis and how I feel connected to the beings who are experiencing it. And earthquakes, matter of fact, timing-wise, I found out a few times that I felt epicenter events that were actually, the epicenters were far away from me, but I was close enough that I would have possibly felt something. And I was just maybe the first person in the room who felt the jolt or whatever. I share this because my mother and my sister were in a different city and county and town. I was in San Diego. My mother and sister were in like Riverside, Ontario area, and they had a wall literally fall and crumble apart right next to them during an earthquake during that time. And I was the only person in the house that felt a jolt, just a short jolt. And the dog acted weird as well. But I kept saying there's an earthquake. And again, nobody believed me until the news came on within a short amount of time, and there's an earthquake and the epicenter is near where my mother and sister were. So I feel that even though we may not all be in a position to physically be with these people, our energy, our prayers, or if you do spell work or blessing work or sending some kind of energy will help. And that for those who are sensitive and think they might be crazy, you really are sensing or maybe even dreaming in the moment with these people who are going through extreme situations. You are in a moment there with them, so they are not alone. I just wanted to share that. I would love to hear from anybody else who has had these similar experiences or feel in line with this thought or idea. I tried talking to others about this, and even some fairly well-known spiritualists, I think a witch, Pinzak, I think I tried to talk to him. He told me I was astral projecting. And I was like, I don't think so. I think it was a little bit different. But maybe it is. Maybe I don't understand what astral projecting is. I thought I knew. And that's a whole nother story that I don't want to get into. Because I used to lucid dream, and I have done dream walking just before the time I met my now husband. And it was quite a freaky experience. And yeah, maybe I'll share that story another time. But I thought I knew the difference. And this is something else. This, I think, is some kind of way that we are connected to one another, be it with other mutant monkeys, as Omnia likes to call us, or just other beings, be they human or animal, four-legged, fished, or whatever, going through these extreme situations, it somehow connects some of us who are sensitive. And I just want to let you know that if I remember trying to find other people who were going through this stuff, and I found one or two forums that evidently were active close to that time that talked about that. But at the time when I was looking for it, I couldn't find nothing, and I think it was because they were like private groups at the time, and they knew people would think they were crazy or just it's all in their head. But these people were experiencing similar things to me. Now I don't get much nausea. I do get some joint and body aches when there's certain earth activities. It's more of an emotional, mental thing, and somewhat physical. Like I can feel the motion and movement of what a person is feeling and experiencing. Maybe you have a different bent on this, but I did want to put it out just because I had noticed that my dreams lately, though not as quite as specific as when the early 2000s tsunamis hit that were so catastrophic. This time around, it's been more like dreaming about water. It seems like people had a little bit more time. There wasn't as much death as the previous time. There's definitely been damage to property and stuff like that, but not the way those ones were before, so it hasn't been as intense this time around. But I have been having some very interesting water-related dreams since the start of these current storms and the flooding in Texas, and I think the other storms that were happening, I think is Asia again, I'm not sure. I just know that in another part of the world there's similar type storms and things active right now. And I sometimes have like fluorite stone or some other things that I keep around my room to try to help buffer me a little bit in my sleep, I guess protect a little. But due to the cold we caught last week, and I hadn't really bothered with that kind of thing. What I have been doing is going out to ground, and when I do my showers for cleansing, I actually encourage what I call the living water energy to help me ground out any excess emotion or anything that isn't mine. Not because I don't want to be present and helpful, but because as a sensitive, you don't want to carry too much, because if you keep too much in yourself, then you can get bogged down and sick and tired, or not be really ready to be helpful to people when they do directly call to you and ask for help. So, or if you do get the next wave and you're really trying to be present in the moment and flow that energy in a way that helps people balance and deal with what's going on. So this is just a few thoughts. But my last thought is, I literally feel for those going through these nature events that are really causing them to struggle, pack themselves up and run for their lives, that kind of thing, and just what stressful times they're going to have ahead. And I hope they get the help they need from our FAMA and our other systems that we have in place to help those in natural disasters and flooding situations. I hope we are better prepared at providing service as a government thing. From what happened in New Orleans, I hope it better prepared our government to be responsive to this newer flooding situation. And yeah, please share your experiences if you're having some strange dreams or sensitivities, if you have any of this kind of thing going on, and what you feel is the purpose of it. I'm very curious. I do think part of it is to be present and to support and experience with them, so in such a way that it helps us to know we're not alone in these experiences. I don't know how or why it helps. I just know that it does help to know that you're not alone when you're going through something very extreme. And that every being that I have felt during this time period, I have sent some of my energy to in some way, just to add strength, to maybe even encourage allies and nature locally to help them in any way it can, and just send some support of some type. So okay, We're almost at 15 minutes. I just want to say blessings of the realms. I know some people may be a little bit angry at Mother Nature, but she's just doing what she can to balance things out. And if we should be angry at anybody, I truly feel that how we allow ourselves to be involved and use the nature that we have around us as part of our lives and our lifestyle, we should really look at that and get more in not in line, but more balanced with our relationship with nature and how we affect it, so that it can be in better balance with us and how it interacts with us. All right. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope you all have a great Labor Day weekend. Bye-bye.